185,000 soldiers could not defeat this angel. One of the greatest stories in the Bible speaks of God's intervention in the affairs of his people, and the story of Hezekiah and his numerous enemies is one of the greatest examples of this. Hezekiah was a man in stark contrast to his terrible father Ahaz. During his 29-year reign, he was granted the unusual honor of doing what was right in the eyes of the Lord, just as his ancestor David had done. It happened that in the 3rd year of Hoshea, son of Elah, king of Israel, Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, king of Judah, began to reign. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned for 29 years in Jerusalem. The name of his mother was Abi, daughter of Zechariah. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord according to all the things his father David had done. 2 Kings 18:1-3. Hezekiah was one of the few kings who supported the elevated places of worship. He also cut down the Asherah poles and destroyed the bronze serpent that Moses had created centuries earlier, known as Nehushtan, which means bronze image. Numbers 21:8-9. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Make a fiery serpent and set it on a pole, and it shall come to pass that everyone who is bitten, when he looks at it, shall live." So Moses made a bronze serpent and put it on a pole, and it happened that when a serpent bit someone, if that person looked at the bronze serpent, they would live. What a pity that this object, which God used to deliver the people, became a source of worship. For these and other reasons, Hezekiah is considered a king who stood out and was above the other kings in his adherence to God's commandments. 2 Kings 18:4-5. He removed the high places, broke the sacred stones, cut down the Asherah poles, and smashed the bronze serpent that Moses had made. For up to that time, the Israelites had been burning incense to it and called it Nehushtan. Hezekiah trusted in the Lord, the God of Israel. There was no one like him among all the kings of Judah, either before him or after him. After reading about the unfaithfulness and atrocious acts of so many kings of Israel and Judah, King Hezekiah was a relief. His reign was a testament to his faithfulness to God's commandments. He prospered wherever he went because the Lord was with him. 2 Kings 18:6-7. Because he was faithful to the Lord and did not turn away from him, but kept the commandments that the Lord had given to Moses, the Lord was with him. He succeeded in everything he undertook. He rebelled against the king of Assyria and did not serve him anymore. He defeated the Philistines as far as Gaza and its borders, from watchtower to fortified city. In the 4th year of King Hezekiah, which was the 7th year of Hoshea, son of Elah, king of Israel, Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, marched against Samaria and laid siege to it. They took it after 3 years. That is, Samaria was captured in the 6th year of Hezekiah, which was the 9th year of Hoshea, king of Israel. The king of Assyria deported the Israelites to Assyria and settled them in Halah, in Gozan, on the Habor River, and in the towns of the Medes, because they had not obeyed the voice of the Lord their God, but had broken his covenant. They neither listened to nor carried out all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded. In the 14th year of King Hezekiah's reign, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, attacked all the fortified cities of Judah and captured them. So Hezekiah, king of Judah, sent a message to the king of Assyria at Lachish. "I have done wrong. Withdraw from me, and I will pay whatever you demand of me." The king of Assyria exacted from Hezekiah, king of Judah, 300 talents of silver and 30 talents of gold. So Hezekiah gave him all the silver that was found in the temple of the Lord and in the treasuries of the royal palace. At that time, Hezekiah stripped off the gold with which he had covered the doors and doorposts of the temple of the Lord and gave it to the king of Assyria. The successor of Shalmaneser, the conqueror of Israel, was the Assyrian king against whom Hezekiah would have to fight. Unfortunately for Judah, things did not go as planned. Sennacherib attacked and conquered all the fortified cities of Judah, leaving only Jerusalem. It was at this moment that Hezekiah might have concluded that he had miscalculated the situation. He had previously admitted to Sennacherib that he had acted wrongly and offered a ransom to prevent his people from suffering the same fate as Israel. The demand was enormous, and Hezekiah sent all the silver and gold he could find, even stripping gold from the temple. However, things were about to get worse. God surrounded the Assyrians around Jerusalem to test Hezekiah's faith and demonstrate his own power to his people. Sennacherib did not believe that Hezekiah's ransom was sufficient, but was looking for a reason to attack Jerusalem anyway. The Assyrian king sent a delegation and a massive army to Jerusalem to demand the city's surrender. Then Hezekiah, king of Judah, sent a message to the king of Assyria at Lachish. "I have done wrong. Withdraw from me, and I will pay whatever you demand of me." The king of Assyria exacted from Hezekiah, king of Judah, 300 talents of silver and 30 talents of gold. So Hezekiah gave him all the silver that was found in the temple of the Lord and in the treasuries of the royal palace. At that time, Hezekiah stripped off the gold with which he had covered the doors and doorposts of the temple of the Lord and gave it to the king of Assyria. Then the king of Assyria sent the Tartan, the Rabsaris, and the Rabshakeh with a large army from Lachish to King Hezekiah in Jerusalem. They went up and came to Jerusalem, and when they arrived, they stopped at the aqueduct of the upper pool on the road to the washer's field. They called for the king, and Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, who was in charge of the palace, Shebna the scribe, and Joah, son of Asaph the recorder, went out to them. The Rabshakeh said to them, "Tell Hezekiah, this is what the great king, the king of Assyria, says. On what are you basing this confidence of yours? You say you have counsel and might for war, but you speak only empty words. On whom are you depending that you rebel against me? Look now, you are depending on Egypt, that splintered reed of a staff, which pierces a man's hand and wounds him if he leans on it. Such is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all who depend on him. But if you say to me, 'We trust in the Lord our God,' isn't he the one whose high places and altars Hezekiah removed, saying to Judah and Jerusalem, 'You must worship before this altar in Jerusalem'? Now then, make a bargain with my master, the king of Assyria. I will give you 2,000 horses if you can put riders on them. How then can you repulse one officer of the least of my master's servants, even though you are depending on Egypt for chariots and horsemen? Furthermore, have I come to attack and destroy this place without the Lord? The Lord himself told me to march against this country and destroy it." 2 Kings 18:26-30. The royal spokesman of Sennacherib laid out what he believed to be the facts to make Hezekiah and his people open their gates and surrender. First, Egypt was a useless ally that would not deliver them. This was true. Secondly, he was sure that the people of Judah had angered their God by destroying the places of worship, namely the high places and forbidden altars that Hezekiah had demolished. Of course, Hezekiah was right to demolish them. However, even the followers of the king probably questioned the king's actions in light of what was happening. Thirdly, the spokesman of Sennacherib reminded them that Judah's army was too weak to repel the Assyrian army. Given Hezekiah's effort to bribe Assyria, this was probably true as well. Lastly, he claimed that the Lord himself had told him to attack and destroy that land, essentially saying, "Hey, your God is on my side." This was a lie, but to the demoralized inhabitants of Jerusalem, it might have seemed he was right. After all, their northern neighbors had fallen to Assyria, and those same cruel conquerors were now at their gates. Then Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, Shebna, and Joah said to the Rabshakeh, "Please speak to your servants in Aramaic, for we understand it. Do not speak to us in Hebrew in the hearing of the people on the wall." But the Rabshakeh said, "Has my master sent me only to your master and to you, and not also to the men sitting on the wall, who like you will have to eat their own excrement and drink their own urine?" Then the Rabshakeh stood and called out in a loud voice in Hebrew, "Hear the word of the great king, the king of Assyria. This is what the king says. Do not let Hezekiah deceive you. He cannot deliver you from my hand. Do not let Hezekiah persuade you to trust in the Lord when he says, 'The Lord will surely deliver us.' This city will not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. Do not listen to Hezekiah. This is what the king of Assyria says. Make peace with me and come out to me. Then each of you will eat from your own vine and fig tree and drink water from your own cistern until I come and take you to a land like your own. A land of grain and new wine, a land of bread and vineyards, a land of olive trees and honey. Choose life and not death,